Let's be honest, most guys are out here guessing, hoping she'll just feel it, but that's exactly why they lose her. You see, attraction isn't built with compliments or flowers. It's built with strategy, presence, and the right questions. And yes, there's a reason I'm calling this the Machiavellian formula. Because when you understand female psychology, when you use psychological tactics to ask the right things, you stop being just another guy and start becoming a man who triggers something primal in her. These aren't pickup lines. They're strategic questions designed to trigger attraction on a level most men never access. You'll learn how to create emotional dominance without saying a single, I like you. You'll tap into her subconscious with seductive intelligence and unlock a mental edge that rewires how she responds to you. But here's the catch. If you miss even one of these steps, you risk falling into the same trap that keeps most guys stuck in the nice guy zone, always wondering what went wrong. And there's one specific question, just one, that flips her frame entirely. Miss it, and nothing works. Get it right, and she'll start chasing you before she even realizes it. If this message speaks to you, if you've been silently frustrated trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who's walking the same road. You never know how much impact one insight can have on another man's journey. So now let's break this down step by step, because this isn't about manipulation. It's about red pill awareness, masculine energy, and reclaiming your power through the art of assertive communication. The Machiavellian formula: 10 questions to trigger attraction in any woman, step by step. Every man's been there, talking to a woman, thinking he's saying all the right things, but watching her drift away like smoke. It's not that you weren't interesting, it's that you didn't hook her on a level that bypasses logic. This is where the Machiavellian mindset enters. Not manipulation, but precision. There's a blueprint, buried in plain sight, that lets a man unlock attraction triggers without trying to be someone else. It starts with knowing exactly what to ask, and when to stay quiet. Now imagine this. You're sitting across from her. Her smile is there, but distant. You ask her something, just one question, and suddenly her body shifts. Eye contact locks in. Her laugh becomes softer, more open. That's not luck. That's strategic questions in action. Most guys ask generic stuff. Where are you from? Or what do you do? But real connection? It's sparked when you aim for the part of her brain that feels, not analyzes, and that's exactly what this formula delivers. What if I told you there are 10 specific questions that, when used correctly, trigger attraction so subtly she won't even realize why she's drawn in? These aren't yes or no questions. These are questions that pierce through the surface and play with her emotional leverage. But here's the key. Timing is everything. Ask too soon, you kill the tension. Ask too late, and the window closes. That's why this isn't just a list. It's a step-by-step breakdown of psychological rhythm. This isn't about becoming a fake version of yourself. It's about activating the parts of your identity that already hold masculine energy, confidence, and curiosity, but doing it with intention. The reason most men fail isn't lack of looks or charm. It's because they lack assertive communication paired with seductive intelligence. They don't know how to create mystery while keeping emotional tension high. That's what this formula teaches, and once you see how it works, there's no going back. Let's rewind to one night in New Orleans. Carlos, a 32-year-old physical therapist, sat across from a woman who was way out of his league. He followed the usual script: compliments, job talk, trying to be funny. Nothing. But then he remembered the first question from this exact formula. He leaned in and asked it. Her reaction? Immediate. She smiled differently. She leaned closer. The entire vibe flipped. That one psychological tactic opened the door to social control he never thought he had. The question Carlos used wasn't complex. It wasn't rehearsed, but it was designed to bypass filters, to create unconscious influence. When you speak to a woman in a way that invites her to feel seen, not just heard, you change the game. These 10 questions aren't magic tricks. They're backed by female psychology and rooted in timeless principles that even thinkers like Machiavelli understood. Power is not taken, it's invited. And when she invites you into her emotions, that's where you win. Before we go deeper, here's what you need to know. If you expect this to be just another pickup tutorial, you'll be disappointed. This isn't about cheap tactics. This is about dating mastery, creating impact with your words, and knowing when to listen more than speak. It's about mastering the art of tension, curiosity, and control through behavioral decoding. And we'll break down each question, one by one, not just what to ask, but why it works. Let's move forward. Here's the thing about power dynamics. They're happening whether you notice them or not. In every interaction, someone's leading and someone's following. When you ask the right question at the right moment, you shift the balance. You become the frame she enters instead of chasing hers. That's alpha presence. It's not about being loud, dominant, or arrogant. It's about emotional calibration, understanding that asking something meaningful is leadership. And the first question in the formula is a prime example of that. The opening question isn't, "What do you do?" or "Where are you from?" It's something that invites reflection. It disarms her need to impress and lets her feel safe, revealing something real. For example, when was the last time you felt truly alive? It hits differently, doesn't it? That's because it taps into emotional dominance, the ability to guide her feelings without force. It's also the beginning of male transformation, when you stop performing and start leading with depth. Here's what most guys miss. Women don't fall for what you say. They fall for how they feel when they say things to you. That's the switch. This first question sets a tone that says, "I'm not like the others. I'm curious about who you are, not just what you do." That curiosity, when real, radiates masculine frame. She senses it. She feels the difference. And whether she realizes it or not, that's when attraction starts simmering beneath the surface. Let's talk imagery. Imagine you're walking through a dimly lit jazz bar. Low music hums, candlelight flickers between you. And instead of nervously running your mouth, you drop a quiet question like, "What's one decision that changed everything for you?" She pauses. Her eyes shift. You didn't ask for her body, you asked for her story. That's purpose-driven men in action. They're not fishing for attention. They create gravity. They create a space where connection becomes inevitable. The second question in the formula dives deeper. It's designed to stretch her memory, stir emotion, and reveal parts of her identity most men never get to see. Why? Because when you activate reflection, you trigger nostalgia, vulnerability, and openness, core elements of practical seduction. She starts seeing you as a mirror to her inner world, not a checklist dude with a line to deliver. And when she speaks from that place, she invests. Emotionally, psychologically. That's real power. It's important to understand. Not all questions are equal. Some spark attraction. Others kill it instantly. Avoid fact-based or surface-level questions early on. Stay away from interviews. Instead, ask things like, "What's something small that brings you more joy than it probably should?" That's how you awaken her femininity, by giving it space to breathe. This is where your mental edge sharpens. You're not reacting. You're leading the dance with deliberate, playful depth. That's seductive intelligence in motion. And yes, you'll feel the shift. When you ask right, she slows down. Her voice softens. Her eyes linger. You're no longer just a guy she's talking to. You become a man she's emotionally syncing with. That's how attraction triggers work. They bypass logic and speak to the emotional brain. Every word you say becomes a thread she wants to follow. Every silence becomes charged. And once you understand that rhythm, you control the tempo of connection, effortlessly. What's powerful about this formula is that each question builds on the last. It's not random, it's layered, like steps in a psychological staircase. By the time you reach the third or fourth question, she's not just talking, she's revealing, exploring, engaging. This is where unconscious influence takes root. She feels safe, intrigued, and challenged all at once. And because you've created that space through assertive communication, she now associates those feelings with you. That's not by accident. That's dating mastery. Each well-crafted question becomes a quiet flex, showing her you're tuned into more than her appearance. You're not intimidated, you're not rushing, you're guiding. This is red pill awareness at its finest. Not bitterness, not game playing, but clarity. You see past the surface and speak to what matters. And when you do that with silent confidence, she leans in. Not because you demanded it, but because she chooses to. That's the difference between a boy who chases and a man who attracts. And here, a quick pause. Because if this is starting to shift how you see attraction, you're not alone. Most men never learn this. They fumble, overshare, or stay surface level, and wonder why things never click. But if this kind of insight is waking something up in you, if it's making you rethink your entire approach, then stop what you're doing, hit that like button, and subscribe right now. Why? Because what's coming next builds on this momentum, and the next question in the formula is the one that most men never even think to ask. And it changes everything. Let's talk about the third question. This one strikes a nerve in a good way. It sounds simple, but it's designed to stir a storm beneath the surface. What's one thing most people misunderstand about you? You'd be shocked how quickly this unlocks vulnerability. It lets her drop the social mask and tap into her inner world. That's emotional leverage. You're telling her indirectly, "I see there's more to you than the image you show." And that makes you unforgettable. At this stage, the atmosphere changes. You're no longer having a casual chat. You're creating a private world between the two of you. One built on curiosity, not performance. When you combine that with masculine frame, she starts to feel something she can't quite name. Its presence, its stability, and most importantly, it's rare. You're not chasing a reaction. You're guiding an experience. This is the true essence of Machiavellian mindset. Quiet control, where the power isn't loud, it's felt. Question 4 brings it all together with elegance and subtle depth. What kind of moment makes you lose track of time? It's poetic, but accessible. This question isn't just about hobbies or interests. It pulls emotional memory into the present. It reveals what makes her feel most alive. When you ask this, her voice may slow down. Her posture might change. That's your cue. Psychological tactics are working. You're leading her into a space where she feels emotionally nourished. That's real connection. At this point, you're not memorizing lines. You're reading her energy, listening actively, and staying grounded in your masculine energy. That's what separates this formula from shallow tactics. You're not just asking to ask. You're exploring her world while staying rooted in yours. This shows emotional maturity, and women pick up on it fast. Most men try to impress, but when you shift the frame to purpose-driven men, you realize it's not about proving your worth. It's about holding your ground. A woman's attraction isn't just physical, it's layered, built over moments of safety, intrigue, and contrast. These questions create emotional contrast, deep versus light, intense versus playful. That rhythm is what keeps her coming back for more. And when you lead with this kind of emotional depth, it creates social control without pressure. She wants to open up. She wants to linger. She doesn't feel interrogated. She feels seen. That's how you elevate your status without ever needing to say it. You'll notice a pattern. These questions don't revolve around you, and that's intentional. They're built to flip the dynamic. When she invests emotionally in the conversation, you become the prize. This flips the script most men are trapped in, where they chase validation and end up ignored. The moment she begins revealing, reflecting, and attaching emotion to you, attraction triggers fire almost automatically. Not through pressure, but through experience. That's what builds the foundation of high-value man energy. Here's where things get real. She may tell you something vulnerable, something raw. Your job isn't to fix it or react dramatically. It's to hold it, just hold the space. That's silent confidence. That's what she remembers. When most men fumble the moment with jokes, opinions, or insecurities, you become the calm in the storm. That's power. That's mental edge. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being unshakable when emotion enters the room, and that makes you magnetic. Now let's unlock the 5th question in the formula. This one flips emotional investment into anticipation. What's something you've always wanted to do but never told anyone? It's playful, bold, and personal all at once. She'll hesitate. She might laugh nervously. But that hesitation, that's gold. It means you've reached a part of her she guards. That's behavioral decoding in real time. You're seeing how she reacts to being emotionally challenged, how she opens when she feels curiosity instead of judgment. The secret is this. When you introduce a question she's never been asked before, you create a new version of herself in that moment. That's psychological tactics at the deepest level. You're not pulling answers. You're awakening emotion. That's where female psychology comes alive. You're not just a man in front of her. You're a mirror, a mystery, and a magnet. She'll think about that moment long after the night ends. Not because of what you said, but because of how she felt. And here's something you might not expect. When you ask that kind of question, her attraction builds without her even realizing it. That's unconscious influence. It's not about forcing chemistry. It's about crafting an environment where chemistry grows organically. And when she's sharing something secret, even silly, there's trust, there's laughter, there's tension. That's the mix you want. That's how practical seduction happens, through emotional access, not performance. And suddenly, you're not the guy she just met. You're the guy she can't shake off. Now let's shift gears a bit. Question 6. What kind of moments make you feel most feminine? This one's advanced, but powerful. Most men never go here because they fear it's too bold. But when delivered with ease and confidence, this question opens a doorway few men even know exists. It shows you understand power dynamics, and you're comfortable with your role in them. You're not afraid of her softness. You invite it. That's masculine energy in its most refined form. You'll be surprised how many women melt when asked this. Not because you're being seductive in a cheesy way, but because you're showing permission. Permission for her to drop the tough exterior and step into softness. Most men only respond to what they see. You, on the other hand, are leading what she becomes in your presence. That's Machiavellian mindset. That's depth. And she feels it. Her tone changes. Her words slow down. The emotional tension rises. And now she's emotionally engaged. What's happening underneath the surface here is important. You're guiding her emotions without needing to control them. You're using emotional dominance, not force. That's the nuance. Women don't want robots or people pleasers. They want a man who can hold space, lead energy, and remain grounded in his truth. Each question you ask is a tool, not just to get to know her, but to create a shared experience. And that experience is what forms lasting attraction triggers. Question 7 comes in with subtle rebellion. What do you think people get completely wrong about love? It's not just provocative, it's reflective. It gives her space to challenge her own beliefs while revealing what she craves deep down. That's male transformation too, guiding her into deeper thought without preaching. It's flirtation through philosophy. Most guys won't even think to ask something like this. But those who do, they don't just attract, they redefine what she thought attraction was. As you reach question 8, the entire frame has shifted. The connection is no longer surface level. It's alive, charged, magnetic. Try this. If you could relive one single day exactly as it was, which day would it be? It's intimate without crossing boundaries. It's nostalgic without being invasive. That's emotional leverage in its purest form. You're not chasing her past. You're letting her relive it. And when she does, her brain pairs that emotional peak with you. That's advanced attraction trigger work. And now, the 9th question. When do you feel most understood by someone? This one hits hard. It makes her think, who actually gets her? Most men never ask this because they're too busy trying to be liked. But when you ask this, you position yourself as the man who might finally be different. That's alpha presence. That's leadership in silence. It speaks volumes. And by now, you've laid enough groundwork for this question to land. And when it does, she leans in. Question 10? It's the closer, the one that lingers. What would you do if you knew no one would judge you for it? It's open, freeing, and a little rebellious. It allows her to imagine, to play, to trust. You've taken her on a journey through memories, values, emotions, and desires, and now you offer her freedom. That's mental edge. That's dating mastery. She'll associate that question and the feeling it gave her with you, and she'll want more. Of the feeling? Of you? So let's recap without giving too much away. You've planted seeds. Each question carefully chosen, timed, delivered with silent confidence, and rooted in masculine frame. You didn't force attraction. You triggered it with precision. And here's what most won't tell you. Once you've learned this, there's no need for games. You speak less, and she opens more. You move less, and she leans in. The formula works not because it manipulates, but because it mirrors what she craves and rarely finds. But this is only the beginning. So here's the real question. Now that you know how powerful a few well-placed words can be, are you going to keep using the same tired lines, or are you ready to become the kind of man who speaks straight to her instincts? Because the truth is, most men won't apply this. They'll hear it, nod along, and then go back to asking the same safe, shallow questions that lead nowhere. But you've got something now. Something that works. Not by pretending, but by understanding what truly moves a woman from the inside out. What would happen if, the next time you talk to a woman, you actually used one of these questions? Try it. Watch her eyes change. Watch her presence shift. And when it happens, come back here and drop this phrase in the comments so we know you're one of us. I asked, and she leaned in. That'll let me know you're not just watching, you're evolving. Seriously, thank you for staying with me until the end. You could have clicked away at any moment, but you didn't. And that tells me something. You're not here to play. You're here to grow. So if this video brought you real value, please hit the like button, send this to a friend who needs it, subscribe, and turn on that little bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this was just the first move. And you and I both know the most dangerous man in the room is the one who listens, learns, and leads.